I think art's really important because I think it allows us a space in which we can look at things that we want to talk about. Even those doodles that you're making, they oftentimes will give you information as to how to understand yourself better or understand the people around you better. Hi, I'm Karen Saunders, and I'm an artist and an educator. I have a BFA from the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, and I also had teacher certification with that. It's a K-12, so I could also teach. And it was important to me to get that art degree as well. And then I also have a master's in art education. I work in a couple of different medias. I work in fiber and clay, and I build sculptures and installations. I have a piece of art. I do installations, and right now you can see my work at the Contemporary Art Center's Museum, which if you haven't been there, you need to. It's all interactive, and I'm at the top of the stairs. And I have an installation going into the Cincinnati Art Museum at the Rosenthal Education Center. And that was, I'm very excited about that piece too, because that has a lot of interactive parts, and I've been able to think about how that's going to play with students. So I started making inflatables actually when I was a teacher at an elementary school, and I used plastic paint tarps, and I would lay them on the floor. A planetarium came and talked to us, and they made an inflatable that blew up. And I was really interested in that idea. And so we started putting their artwork inside the bubbles, and that's how that whole idea came about. And then so I use Tyvek now, which is in a paper form, and I sew it on my sewing machine, very simple, and I inflate it then with air, and it's not a hard process, but I create these installations then based off of that idea. I love filling space. I come in and I only have a bag, and I set it down on the floor, and then I put the fan and I hook it up, and then it morphs into something really huge, and I find that really exciting. And then I love that feeling of watching someone else explore and discover something. I think that's the same reason I like teaching, and sort of that moment of wonder and awe. And because my pieces are huge and they can be high in the sky, it can create that feeling. What I'm interested in with an inflatable is that action of inflating and deflating. I like the movement, and I like the idea of what shapes will do, whether they fall forward, they fall to the side, how the airflow does it, the patterns. Is it making it move quicker? If I have the source closer here, does it do something else? And it's that action and constant movement of it being kinetic that makes me keep making them. My mom likes to tell this story that no matter what time of day, if you asked me what I was doing growing up, I was always busy with my hands making things, like first thing before breakfast, last thing before I went to bed. So I think it's sort of in my DNA that I'm constantly going to be doing something with my hands, and I'm always going to be making something. I'm happiest there. I also think that doing art is what allows me to communicate with the world, and I know that if I stick with it, even something that looks awful at the moment is going to get better and become something really interesting at the end if I spend enough time on it. So one of my tips for artists is the fact that I think in the creative process, making mistakes, that's part of the process. So instead of feeling like, oh, I made a mistake, you just have to know that's part of the process and keep working on through it. That one mistake is what pushes you and your art in a new direction. And so I've gotten to the point now where I embrace these mistakes because I know that in the end, my work is going to be more interesting. I think they happen to me every day, all the time. I don't think it's just one moment. And so one I'm thinking in particular is that when I'm sewing shapes and forms, I don't have ideas of how they're going to look at the end. But then I blow them up, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, that is terrible. So then it's like just not having the fear then to cut it apart and remaking it in a different way. And then I actually have one shape that I have hanging in my studio because I'm like, do not, and it has a sign on it, do not make this again. Because for a while I would make it over and over and over, and I'm like, this is that same terrible shape. So I think it's a constant thing. And I think another thing that really affects people is that whole perfectionistic idea that it should be perfect. If my artwork isn't perfect, I can't make art. And that really is the part that kills the art, because that idea that it has to be just a certain way. I watch students and they just struggle. They can no longer make anything because they're waiting for this perfect moment. So try and not think about that and just keep working on through. I think it's that comparison thing that's a problem, because it's like you look at, in my family, I have half of my family is able to just draw anything they see whenever they want to. So as a child, I thought I could never be an artist because I couldn't do that. And later on, they have trouble because they want to always be perfect. And so they don't tend to make art, and I am always making art. I also think that people are waiting around for this moment, this perfect moment where they have this great idea, like they're waiting for that perfect idea, or being motivated. And I don't think that exists. I think you have to create your own motivation. So for me, that means I walk into my studio, wherever I am, and I clean off the table. I spend like 5 or 10 minutes. And that immediately makes me feel more creative. So often we clutter things up. So I just by clearing off the space, it gives me like, space. And then I sit down and I just start doing a little doodling. And I'll just tell myself I'm gonna do it for 5 minutes so that I'm like, all right, I can do that. And then I'm gonna go back and like watch my screen or something. And what it does is that it totally transports me into another world. So giving myself that freedom of space and clean is important. So like if you're working in your bedroom, you wanna pick the junk up off the floor. Your head can't work when it's so full. You think it can, but it really doesn't. I think ideas don't just come. I think they come through us working towards them. And so we need to get in the habit that every day, even when I don't want to, I walk into my studio, I'm tired. I'll just walk in at a table, I'll sit down and I'll just draw, and that's how the work comes, and that's how we move forward. I think it's really important to build a community of artists. And whether that is that you join your art club or that you go to a museum and you meet someone, or if you have someone, people really want to help younger people. I always have former students come, and when I'm making things, they'll come and help me with something, or they'll come look. And that's how you learn. And having friends who do that, it makes your work stronger. And so you want to meet other friends, get to know other people who are creative. And it doesn't matter whether it's in the same thing. It could be in music, it could be in anything, but just that they like that kind of world. I think we think of art as this insular world, and it's not. It should be this world where we're involved with people and doing things. And so I wish at an earlier point I had gone up to artists, and just when I saw them like at a street fair or anywhere, I'm like, how did you do that? Or how did you solve that problem? Or I'm doing this, how would I fix this? And just say who you are. I think we don't value enough who we are, and that's our superpower. And it is our unique individual things that makes us authentic, that's what is our art, and that's what makes us different from the person next to you. I make those inflatable pieces by sewing on the same sewing machine that I made with my babysitting money in high school. And that's what I do well. I learned how to understand how patterns are made, and I got that in school, and that's what makes my pieces interesting. So much of the art world is focused on just white males because of the way the construct was and the way that in history, that's who's in museums. And I think that we need to know that it's a big world out there. And some of the art that I think is most interesting is what you see on the street. And I think there's nothing like seeing art in person. I would go to Blink. I would go to art opening. Going even to an art supply store, you learn a lot. It's just getting out, it's not staying in, and I think that is what moves you forward. You want to just make art. Don't get too hung up on what you're doing, and don't think about it too much. Just make. Don't worry about who's going to see it. Just make the work, because it's the fact that if you don't make it, there's a difference between an artist and a practicing artist, so that's, the word practice is there. Just make the art. Everything's going to follow after that.